How's it going, guys? This is Trey Bell, and this is Arcane Frequencies. And today, today, we are going to be reviewing one of the most well known bands to this date, and probably for infinity. Drum roll, please. The Beatles. Yes, the Beatles. Now, I know what you're thinking, probably. This is Arcane Frequencies. You're only supposed to review obscure stuff, like I said. Well, I already told you, like, my favorite band is the Beatles. And honestly, like, I don't really always plan to always just do everything overtly obscure. Like, I do want to do bands that are definitely well known, of course, too. Because, like, their impact has also made a big dent in the fabric of like creative music that can be obscure. I mean, like, honestly, like, and again, with the album I'm reviewing today, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, yeah, from a mainstream band, that is one of the most trippiest, out there, obscure fucking albums that I ever heard come from any artist. Like, I mean, I know there's definitely like monumental artists like David Bowie or Kanye, like, who definitely took the eccentric to the mainstream and become like juggernauts of, you know, just culture in general. And yeah, I would say the Beatles are one of the, I wouldn't say founders, but definitely a big proponent of like how we even listen to music today, and our influences, whether we are influenced them by them directly or not. Yeah, they've made a big impact to this world. And you know, I don't really need to get into their history because you can find millions and millions of documentaries on this band. Like, honestly, they are a staple to life, in my opinion. So, even if you don't live in some weird, obscure, like, land or world, then you're attached to a certain aspect of society, you should know the Beatles. You should know who these people are. So, go on your computer and just do some research. But for me, I am going to just start with how I got into the band. So, this dates all the way back to around maybe 2011, 2010-ish. I was a freshman in high school, either freshman or sophomore. And again, I was living in Bloomington, Normal, Illinois. And I went to a small Catholic high school. And there was and also, just to be real, I was like one of the only black kids there. So, yeah, just some background setting of like some aspects of my upbringing. And yeah, I felt very isolated. I was a very, very isolated, strange kid who just did not feel like he fit in. But, it is what it is. Overall, all I knew is that, like, I fucking love music. And anytime I did, like, associate with certain kids at the school, and we, especially, like, specifically, the musical kids, I didn't hang out with them as much. I probably should have. Like, actually, that's one thing I regret about, like, not socializing that much in high school. But I don't know, I was a weird kid. Just, I chose to isolate myself. But, either way, there were moments where I had like friends where we would talk about like similar interests. That's usually the arts and music. And I actually remember one of my a good school acquaintance, Robbie Kuntz. Shouts out to Robbie if you see this. He is the pure reason why I got into the Beatles. And I remember, and I can't remember specifically what time period this like crossed between, but I do know that like this is when I started realizing hip hop music was being more like becoming more mainstream. And like certain people, like just certain people who I never I'll just be real. There's certain white people I never expected to like be into rap music and know more than I did even at that time. And because I've always had like a very basic viewpoint of the world. It's like black people listen to rap music and white people listen to all the other rock stuff or anything, even though most of music is black. Let's just be real. Yeah, but overall, yeah, this was one of those moments where I like by him just expressing his interest in Kanye, and like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy will be something I will review and talk about very heavily in the future. But we'll save that for another video. But the fact that Robbie was able to be into rap music and analyze it and know so much about it more than I did, I was like, wait a minute, hold up. If he can like just dive into a different like culture or scene or of music or genre that isn't expected of him to listen to, then why can't I? And I remember me and him one day we were talking. He actually introduced me to the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album and told me about it and how it changed his life. And at that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a chance and actually I'm going to listen to the Beatles intentionally. And of course, I knew who the Beatles were. Like everyone, like I said, everyone knows, all you need is love. All you need is love. Love is all you need. Or help. I need somebody help. Not just anybody help. And what's other classics? Na 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 na. Hey Jude. Of course, as a child, you know those songs. You hear them on soundtracks of movies, and they're done so much that you are aware that the Beatles are a staple. Even before I knew the concept of what a staple was of, culture, I just knew that there were certain things that were always going to be praised for long periods of time. So I knew the Beatles were around during the 60s. They've been, like, when I discovered them, they were old. And even to this day, they're just aging like fucking, not even just fine wine, some good ass like brown liquor or some shit. I don't know. All I know is that the Beatles are good for your health, guys. They are good for your health. Listen to the Beatles all the fucking time. Now with and so and I'll be honest, like when I first listened to Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, I remember I was sitting in my room and I was sitting on my bed, and again, this is definitely during the time period of primarily only using iTunes Store and shit like that, because Spotify did not exist at the time period, and even if it did, I definitely wasn't using it. I bought the album, and like usually like that meant something at the time period. Like when I bought an album for $9.99, that meant that like I wanted to indulge in this band or this particular album, because I probably have like heard some songs on YouTube. I most likely was probably using Pandora at the time, so like let's say I was using Pandora, and if I found like some radio stations of bands that I like or a song, I would buy the album. And that's what I did with Lonely Hearts Club Band. I'll be honest, like I didn't really know much songs off of the album before listening to it. So, because like that was definitely the first time I've heard the Beatles like before Rubber Soul. Because for me, I'm a before Rubber, like after Rubber Soul Beatles type of guy. I still need to listen to the discography of everything like that came before Rubber Soul. I know, but it's just like they obviously were more creative after they did everything on Rubber Soul and continue on all the way up to Let It Be, and it just resonates with me more. I'll just be honest, but I will have to say, maybe in the future I will probably do a segment where, I'll review a Beatles album that I haven't heard yet. And, if I get through all that, maybe I'll even do, like, some obscure Beatles shit, like, because they have so much, like, alternative shit, albums, like, the whole Beatles and just specifically vinyl culture. Oh, yeah, and I do have this on vinyl. I'll be back. Okie dokie. Look at this there. Sorry, glare. I'll probably remove the picture so you can get a clear view. But yeah. This is a beautiful vinyl. Let's look into it. No, I don't really do a lot of vinyl showings, but oh yeah, I totally forgot. I actually have not opened this. So, a pristine Beatles vinyl, and this was actually my first vinyl that I ever bought. Actually, technically, I bought my first two vinyls that I ever bought was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band and the Velvet Underground's and Nico, with the Andy Warhol banana. And so those actually were the first two vinyls I ever bought for myself, even way before I had a record player. I was actually collecting vinyls for at least a good 2 years before I officially got a record player. And when I did, oh my goodness, like my music experience was just heaven after that. But yeah, I don't think I actually have like all of the Beatles albums from Rubber Soul to Let It Be. So, and I don't think I've actually even opened any of them. So that's probably something I'm going to have to do. I just want to keep it so nice and neat and this thing, because I can listen to this on my phone. This is like kind of a prized possession of like showing my gratitude of the fact that I just like this band so freaking much. All right, now let's get into, I guess, talking about the album in itself, and just like my experience with it. So we have the opener, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And so let's just be real with the Beatles, they're a monument to life in my opinion, so I don't really need to get too deep into like all the songs and like what I think they mean, because like honestly I feel like this particular album in general can mean whatever it personally means to anybody. But for me, when I first listened to this album after I bought it off the iTunes store, I was just like, wow, they were really making this type of stuff way back in the 60s. And that's like when I started realizing how important the 60s were. And also, shout out, another person I want to shout out and helping me love the Beatles more other than Robbie Kuntz. Shout out to you, bro. But my fucking best friend of all time, my bro, and most likely I know you're going to be watching this, bro, Jim Record, my high school art teacher. He has helped me a lot in this world, and I want to give a shout out to him. So thank you, bro. Thank you for just inspiring me and telling me I can do what I can do, and just being a really awesome person. And just to talk about music with you, just talk about music with a teacher was something that was not very common for me. It was only like you and Mr. Huberman, and yeah, I to this day, I appreciate you guys heavily and anytime I got in conversations with you about the Beatles and just like, your experience with them, and I'm like, I'm glad that I took that chance of like listening to something outside of like what I was used to at the time, and that's where I learned how to connect with people. I learned how to connect with people I never thought I would actually ever connect with, like people who were, way, way older than me, and I can see they have an appreciation for me and the fact that like I'm willing to listen to something of their time. So I always respect, associating with anyone who loves this band, and especially if they're older and like have the knowledge of like the things that they experienced since they were closer to that time period. Amazing. So yeah, so it starts out with Lonely Hearts Club Band. And it's just like, it was 20 years ago today when Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. They've been going in and out of style, but they're guaranteed to raise a smile. So may I introduce to you the agony all these years, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Dun, 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 dun. And this is like an aspect of this song, and just how like this is a very theatric album, and then it goes into this interesting transition of like just like these instrumentals, and then it's like, we're Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. We hope that you'll enjoy the show. Just a very spectacular intro. Like honestly, there's this is like pure like intro material. Like if you want to know how to do a good intro in this day and age, listen to like just the beginning of this album. Like, they put their all into this. Even put their they put their all into like every aspect of this like album. Like, this is a groundbreaking album. Even the fucking album cover. And also another connection of the obscurities that I have been recently reviewing, with Current 93. They're very influenced by Aleister Crowley. And if you look in the album cover at the top corner, top left-hand corner, you see him right there. So yeah, they were also into the cult. So this definitely can tie in with the stuff that I do and I review. So yeah. Yep. Yeah, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Good intro. And then a good, just catchy tune, What would you think if I sang out of tune? Would you stand up and walk out on me? Lend me your ears and I'll sing you a song, and I'll try not to sing out of key. Oh, I get by with a little help from my friends. I get high with a little help from my friends. Gonna try with a little help from my friends. Would you need anybody? I want somebody to love. Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's just like ecstasy through my ears and to my brain when I hear that song. It's just a good song about friends, bro. If you just want to get lit with your friends, get by with your friends, and just have a good time with your friends. Like this, like again, like even if you can look at their lyrics to this day and you're like, yeah, they're very simple, very tongue in cheek, but like that's like at that time period, this was definitely the way that they constructed their music was still pretty like new, and how they, especially for the fact of like a band of their stature to be making music like this, like they were speaking straight to the hippies, bro. Straight to the hippies. All right. And speaking of talking straight to the hippies, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Now, I know that they say that, like, this isn't actually based off of LSD, although, like, I'm pretty sure at this point it has been, whether it is true or not, like, this has been associated with, like, the molecule, LSD, etheric acid or something. Yeah. Trippy song. An OG psychedelic song, probably the OG psychedelic song, at least for like modern day like psychedelic artists. Picture yourself in a boat on a river with tangerine trees and marmalade sky. Somebody calls you and answer quite slowly. A girl with kaleidoscope eyes. Cellophane flowers are yellow and green, towering over your head. Look for the girl with the sun in her eyes and she's gone. Boom, boom, boom. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Oh. Yeah. If you trip on LSD and listen to this song, you're going to be in the sky with motherfucking diamonds, man. That's what I say. With diamonds. All right. Oh, yeah. Actually, this is another song that I always known from the Beatles. Getting Better. Got to admit, it's getting better. It's getting better all the time. And, like, I can literally sing along to the Beatles all day. Like, honestly, that's probably what I'm going to do for this review. It's just, like this, like, every song on here, you can sing along to it. And, like, that's, like, almost all their music is just good sing-along songs. Like, lyrics are so simple, but they still hit you in a certain type of way. And, like, honestly, my favorite Beatles songs are, like, a few songs on the White Album, like Cry Baby Cry. Oh, man. The melody, dude, and also that's the other thing about the Beatles that I love. They know how to make some catchy ass melodies, man. Catchy. Cry, baby, cry. Make your mother sigh. old enough to know better. So cry, baby, cry. The Duchess in the parlor, Elvis cooking breakfast for the king. Yeah, I need the lyrics up, but like still, the feeling there, the feeling, like the melodies that like John and Paul like were just able to construct. I mean, and George Harrison and Ringo, of course. I mean, of course we know they weren't the main writers of the Beatles, but either way, yeah. Like at the end of the day, like there's not really much else I can say other than like this album is literally the reason why I feel like a lot of music has its standards in a certain way, because this has everything a perfect album needs to have: catchy tunes and relatable subject matters, like the song "For the Benefit of Mr. Kite." Hold up, let me get the lyrics up. For the benefit of Mr. Kite, there will be a show tonight on trampoline. The Hendersons will all be there, late of Pablo Franco's fair. What a scene! Over men, horses, hoops, and garters, Leslie threw a hogsheads of real fire. In his way, Mr. K will challenge the world. And they actually based those lyrics off of like an actual circus poster, and where it was actually introduced. It was, like, these are literally based off of like a circus poster based off that time period, and actually, they actually have a. Yeah, it actually says on Genius, on January 31st, 1967, John Lennon walked into an antique shop in Kent during the film session for the Strawberry Fields Forever Penny Lane single and posted a poster promoting Pablo Franco's circus. The composition for Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite quickly ensued. A majority of the song lyrics. My mom is calling. Hello? Okay. But yeah, overall, yeah, it's just like just also just knowing that we can get this much history. Yeah, I know I left off somewhere, but overall, it's just amazing how like, oh yeah, there's actually a picture of John by what he actually used to make this song. So yeah, that poster right there is the reason why the song Being for the Benefit of Mr. Kite exists. And that's another aspect of the Beatles that like I love, the fact that they were just so resourceful to like use just like, something that just like came to them at that moment. Like that's, some art really can only be great if it's like based on if you take your time with it and you grab inspirations from all different sorts of places. And that's the one thing that's also amazing about the Beatles is that each individual Beatles member, they did their own thing too in their personal lives. That, like, for example, like George Harrison is the reason why we even have like Indian inspired type of songs on here. Within You, Without You. I mean, it sounds like some Hinduism type of stuff, and like, they, it starts off with like some Indian inspired type of instruments that I forgot exactly what the instruments are called, but everything that like I feel, each Beatle kind of has their moment to shine, even if it is primarily just Paul and Lennon who usually make most of the lyrics for the band. There are elements of like what you can hear of Ringo and George, and just all like they all put an effort with all these songs, and they practice every day, and like even when you listen to like all the deluxe versions, you can hear like the process of it, and it shows that like they worked hard, and like they spent a lot of time together, just making music and being the Beatles. Just listen to the album. Like there's not much to review. It's just a good album. Like this is just, if there's anything objective in the world to me, is that like this is just objectively always gonna be a good album. You like what you like, but like there's so much merit of like why this, even if you don't like this album, still know that this influenced a lot of the music that you love today. And end it off, yeah, Day in the Life. Oh my goodness, this song just ended off with the lyrics. I read the news today, oh boy, about a lucky man who made the grade. And though the news was rather sad, well, I just had to laugh. I saw the photograph. He blew his mind out in a car. He didn't notice that the light has changed. A crowd of people stood and stared. They'd seen his face before. Nobody was really sure he was from the House of Lords. I lied to turn you on. And like that's such a dark subject matter. Like it's kind of hard to tell because like their music is just always just so uplifting. But like a lot of John Lennon's like the lyrics kind of were pretty edgy sometimes. I even think he had a lyric in here about how he beat his wife. I mean, I know that's pretty well known, but still, yeah. Not gonna get on that subject matter, but either way, let's see. But yeah, and then you go into Paul's verse, and it's just the total opposite. It's just like, woke up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb across my head, found a way downstairs and drank the cup. And looking up, I noticed I was late. Found a coat and grabbed my hat. Made the bus in 10 seconds flat. Found my way upstairs and had a smoke. And somebody spoke and I went into a dream. Again, more just good theatrics. And like just like monumentalist bursts and then just dies down quickly and then goes back. It's like, I read the news today, oh boy. And it just ends off with like this monumental, like, boom. Like this felt like it was a movie. Now that I think about it, this actually feels like a movie that you heard with your ears. And yeah. The Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band is one of those albums that I definitely agree that you should listen to this album before you die. It's just facts. This is an album that you need. If you don't listen to anything from the Beatles other than this album, you'll be straight. That's my opinion. That is my opinion. And yeah, I definitely want to review some more Beatles albums. I mean, I probably won't be reviewing them. I'll just be singing them. If anything, I'll probably do more specific views on albums I actually have not listened to them and actually give those a chance. You know, since I've definitely been stubborn and not wanting to participate in, you know, the earlier catalog of the Beatles, since it's a little too mainstream. It felt like it was like so overdrenched, and even like their look and at that time, I feel like even they, I mean, because even they were just done with like their fame in the sense of like touring all the time and not being able to even hear themselves play because like all the girls are just screaming like, yeah, oh my God, it's John Lennon and Ringo and Paul and George, like you do, like life doesn't change. People always will go buku over icons and celebrities. Like, you know, look at like them back in those days. Like, you know, it's no different than you see now. And that's the funny thing. I think like when I was a kid and like you saw, you know, how people act in like the olden days, it's just like, no, it's just we are just repeating what humans do. As we go through life, we have our phases where we just fall in love with like musical like performances and artists who are willing to put their stuff out there and be, you know, a staple within music or just a flash in the pan. Who knows? Just like we all have our favorite artists, and the Beatles were definitely one of the most successful, like, big mainstream artists of that time period. I mean, of course, I know along with bands like the Beach Boys or the Rolling Stones, of course, like, they definitely were just as big. I would say they're definitely in the same league, like, high status same league for like rock music at that time period. And I've never really listened to much of them either, so that's something I probably also have to get on to. But yeah, it's just Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. This is a really great album. Listen to it, listen to it, listen to it. Just listen to it. You know, don't analyze it. It is music gold. It has all of its documentaries. Just go look at it. Just go. If you have never listened to any Beatles album and you stumble upon this is not a review, this is an agenda to make you listen to the Beatles. And with that said, I'm Trey Bell, the Beatles, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. I like you. Peace, guys.
There's the odor of essence, and I double in pain